Well, the remaining 5 members of the Bali Nine have returned to Australia after 2 decades in Indonesian prisons. And they're not the only ones. It's expected Filipino woman Mary Jane Veloso, who's been on death row in Indonesia, will also be heading home later this week. So what's behind Indonesia's change of heart? Well, Professor Vedi Hadiz, Director of Asian Studies at Melbourne University's Asia Institute, joins me now. Vedi Hadiz, good to have you on the program once again. Now, I want to begin by asking you about Indonesia's law minister, his comments saying that the remaining Bali Nine members were not granted clemency technically, rather they were simply transferred in their status as prisoners. Does anyone buy that notion though, or are they just sort of circumventing the notion of clemency back home?
Well, as you know, there were legal complications in the transfer of the prisoners because of, particular aspects of both Australian and Indonesian law. So this arrangement is highly unorthodox, and it suits the purposes, really, the foreign policy purposes of both countries. So yes, for those purposes, really, the law, strictly speaking, has been circumvented certainly in the Indonesian case. And what the Indonesian government is saying is that these 5 individuals were convicted. They have not been given a pardon. They are returned to Australia on humanitarian grounds, and Indonesia agrees that Australia can do what it wants with these 5 individuals, and Indonesia will not protest.
Yeah, so do you see
that's
this?
Basically it.
Yeah, so do you see this as President Prabowo's move to, I suppose, be on the front foot early on in his presidency as far as a foreign policy and diplomacy is concerned?
If I may take it back a little bit, his predecessor, President Jokowi, was very hard on drugs, drug crimes, right? And that caused a lot of people to be apprehended and imprisoned. And he had to show his toughness. Why? Because he was a civilian president, not of military background, not out of the New Order sort of establishment. And he had to show that he had the mettle, to do these sorts of things. Prabowo is in a completely different, is in the opposite sort of spectrum there. He was one of the most ruthless of the authoritarian era New Order generals. He has problems with his human rights image. And so for him, it actually makes sense to actually do something to remedy that image, to show that he can be humane and soft. And it's actually pretty smart to do that in relation to Australia, which is a major country close to Indonesia, but also a place where a lot of the foreign based, human rights accusations against Indonesia in general, and Prabowo in particular, have emanated in the past. So that sort of stifles those sorts of voices for the purposes of Prabowo resetting his image, I think, in the global stage.
Yes, on the domestic stage, we did see that throughout the election, he was completely changing his image, dancing and having cartoon characters after that. But at the moment, as far as the Bali 5 are concerned, and of course, Mary Jane Veloso, the Filipino woman who will be released later this week, we believe, does the general public in Indonesia accept this, or do they believe Indonesia is going to be going soft on drugs?
Well, this is the thing that I think it may be a bit difficult for Australian audiences to understand. The fact of the matter is that the case goes back 20 years. Most Indonesians are not aware of it. They don't remember it. And so it costs Prabowo nothing domestically to undertake this measure, and it gains him credibility on the international stage. So there is no problem domestically because simply, if you look at the Indonesian news, there are references here and there, news items here and there, but it's not front and center of the news like it is in Australia. So he's taken no risks domestically.
Yes, Professor Vedi Hadiz, we are reading, of course, that as far as reports from Indonesia are concerned, it was that President Prabowo was not expecting anything in return for the release of these long-term prisoners. Is that really the case, though? I mean, is he perhaps keeping something in the bank, as all countries do? Indonesia wouldn't be the first person to do so.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is this, right? I think that at this moment, there is nothing tangible on the table, right? But clearly, and Minister Yusril has indicated this, in future, Indonesia might ask for the favor to be returned. And of course, there are in the past, there have been issues such as, Indonesian miners being placed in Australian jails because they've been caught in Australian waters. Some of them, undertaking fishing, some of them undertaking people smuggling. So if cases like this occur, it's possible for the Prabowo government, for Yusril, for the Indonesian government in general to say, well, please return the favor, and that'll do wonders for them domestically. Oh, Indonesia has managed to, persuade Australia to act sort of benevolently towards our citizens who got in trouble over there. So, it's a very, very, it's a win-win situation for him. It opens up possibilities to sort of, show to a domestic audience that he's taken seriously by a neighbor, and towards that neighbor, he's saying, "Well, look, I'm not as bad as you people have been saying about me. I'm not this ogre who can only infringe on human rights. I can be humane as well," and it's very good press.
Okay, well, we'll see how this win-win situation pans out for the president in the weeks and months and years to come. Professor Vedi Hadiz, it's really good to get your insights as always. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.